Ladies and gentlemen, you ever notice how some people got that gift of remembering the little things you said months ago? Something so small you might even forgot you said it. Maybe you mentioned how your favorite snack as a kid was a certain kind of cookie your mama used to get from a corner store, or how you always wanted to visit a certain city just once in your life, and then one day out of nowhere, they bring it up. Not in a big flashy way, but real subtle. Maybe they surprise you with those cookies. Or they say, hey, let's start saving up for that trip. That right there, that ain't just kindness. That's love with ears. Love with memory. Love that listens when you don't even know you're speaking. People think love's all about the big stuff, jewelry, vacations, Instagram posts with long captions. But let me tell you something. The folks who truly love you, the ones who are all the way in, they noticing the stuff you ain't even trying to show. They're watching how your face lights up when you talk about something. They see how your mood shifts when a certain song plays. They hear your voice crack when you mention a moment from your childhood. And they store that in their mind, in their heart, because it matters to you, so it matters to them. That's the hidden language of real love. And it's funny how the smallest things carry the biggest weight. You ever been with someone and they bring up something from deep in the past? Maybe you mentioned your dad used to play a certain song in the car on road trips, and one day they put that song on just to make you smile. Man, that hits different. That moment right there tells you more than 1,000 I love yous ever could. It tells you, I heard you. I saw you. I care enough to remember. See, we're living in a time where everything moves fast. People swipe left and right on relationships like they ordering food. Folks texting all day, but they ain't really connecting. But when someone truly loves you, they're present. They're not just there physically, they're engaged. They're tuned in to your energy, your stories, your life. And that's why remembering the little things becomes such a big sign, because you didn't have to say it twice. You didn't have to beg for attention. They just got it. And sometimes the thing they remember isn't even happy. Maybe you once shared a painful memory, a family fight, a loss, a moment when you felt low. And down the line, when something similar comes up, they tread lightly. They offer support. They don't make jokes or brush it off. That's not a coincidence. That's love being gentle. That's love saying, I remember what hurt you, and I don't want to bring that pain back. That kind of awareness, that's the stuff soulmates are made of. Now let me tell you a little story. There was this young couple I knew. They didn't have a lot of money, didn't go out much. But the man, he always listened. One time, the woman mentioned how as a little girl, her mom used to braid her hair every Sunday night. It was one of the few peaceful times in her childhood. He ain't saying much then, but months later when she was having a rough day, he came home with a small comb, some coconut oil, and said, sit down, let me try and braid it. I know I ain't your mama, but I just want you to feel safe again. Now you tell me that ain't love. It's these gestures, these quiet acts of care that often go unnoticed by the world, but they are loud and clear to the one receiving them. And what's wild is sometimes the person doing these things doesn't even realize how deep their love runs. They're just doing what feels natural. Because when you love someone deeply, you want to know what matters to them. You want to store their joys and their hurts. You want to be that safe space. And let's be real, this ain't just about romantic relationships either. Friends, family, anybody who loves you right will show these signs. That best friend who remembers you hate being left on read, so they always text back fast. That cousin who never forgets your mom's death anniversary and checks in. That coworker who notices when you're off and brings you a coffee. Love ain't limited to romance. It's about connection, care, commitment. Now, I'm not saying people who forget small stuff don't love you. We're all human. we forget, we miss details. But when someone makes a pattern, when they consistently remember the things that matter to you, even when you don't remind them, that's different. That's special. That's intentional. Let me ask you something. Have you been that person for someone? Have you been paying attention to the small things? Because love isn't just about being loved. It's also about how you love back. You want to show someone you're really in it with them? Listen deeper. Remember more. Act on those quiet details. Because while the big gestures impress the world, the small ones build the bond. Let me break it down like this. Imagine love is a home. The grand gestures are like the furniture. Big, bold, beautiful. But those small remembered things, they're the bricks, the nails, the foundation. Without them, the furniture falls, the house collapses, because you can't build something strong on hollow ground. You got to build it on thoughtfulness, on remembering that your partner likes their coffee a certain way, or that they get anxious before public speaking, or that they feel safest when you just hold their hand and don't say a word. And sometimes people don't even realize they've been waiting for that kind of love until they get it. You might have gone through relationships where you had to keep repeating your needs, where you felt invisible, where it seemed like your words just floated into the air and disappeared. But then one day, someone hears you once, and they carry it. And it shakes you. It makes you realize, damn, I'm not hard to love. I just needed someone who was willing to listen with their heart. So if you're in love, or think you are, ask yourself, do they remember the little things? Do they pick up on the details? Do they show love not just through gifts or words, but through awareness? And also, are you doing the same? Because love is a two-way street. You give what you get. And sometimes, when you start paying attention more, you'll notice they already were. And let's be honest, it ain't about being perfect, it's about being present. You're going to forget sometimes, you're going to miss a cue here or there, but when your heart is in it, truly in it, you start to catch more, you listen better, you remember deeper, because love ain't passive, it's active. It takes work. And remembering those little things, that's the work love is built on. So when someone brings you a small gift out of nowhere, when they remind you of something you forgot you said, when they do something small that means everything, recognize it, honor it. That's real. That's rare. That's someone who loves you not just loudly but deeply. And that kind of love, man, that's the kind you don't let go. You ever had someone stand up for you when you weren't even in the room? Someone who stepped in not to show off, not to argue, but because they care about how you're treated? Let me tell you something right now. When somebody deeply loves you, one of the most powerful things they do is protect you. And I don't just mean fighting your battles or shielding you from danger. I'm talking about real protection, emotional protection, mental protection, soul protection. See, the world is rough out here. People are quick to judge, quick to talk behind your back, quick to laugh at your pain. But when someone loves you from the core of their being, they don't let that happen, not on their watch. They'll defend you when folks speak sideways. They'll stop the conversation, change the subject, walk away if it means keeping your name clean and your spirit intact. You might never even know about it. And that's the beauty of it. Protection done out of love don't always need an audience. Now let's talk about emotional safety, because that's where real love shows out. A person who deeply loves you watches how their words affect you. They choose what to say carefully, not because they're scared of you, but because they respect your heart. They're not trying to tear you down in arguments just to win. They don't bring up your past just to throw it in your face when they're mad. That ain't love. That's control. Real love protects your peace. It says, even when I'm mad, I still won't hurt you. It's also about creating a space where you can breathe. You ever been with someone who just made you feel calm? Like no matter what kind of day you had, the moment you're around them, your shoulders drop and your heart slows down? That's protection too. Because life is heavy, stress is real, but love should be a place where you can take the armor off. A place where you ain't got to explain your every feeling, because they just get it. I remember this one story about a woman going through a tough time at work. Her confidence was shot. She felt like she wasn't enough. Every day she'd come home on the edge of tears. Now her man, he could have brushed it off, could have told her to suck it up, but he didn't. You know what he did? He made sure every morning before she left the house, he looked her in the eyes and said, "You're powerful. Don't let them make you forget that." He said it so often that one day she started to believe it again. That man wasn't rich. He didn't buy her gifts, but he protected her spirit, and that's deep love. Sometimes it's as simple as knowing when to hold your hand in silence, or walking on the outside of the sidewalk, or noticing you're overwhelmed and stepping in to take a load off. Protection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's so subtle you don't even realize it in the moment, but later you look back and say, wow, they really looked out for me. It also shows up in how they speak to you and about you. A person who truly loves you will never be reckless with your name. They won't talk bad about you to others, even when y'all are going through it. They honor you behind closed doors, even when you're not around to hear it. They'll brag on you, not just about your achievements, but about your growth. That's protection in its purest form. Making sure the world sees you with the same respect they feel for you in their heart. Now let me make something clear. Protecting someone don't mean controlling them. It don't mean watching their every move or being jealous and overbearing. That's insecurity, not love. Protection is built on trust. It's saying, I trust you to live your life, but I'm always here to catch you if you fall. That's the kind of protection that makes you feel safe, not smothered. It's also about shielding you from things you can't see coming. A person who loves you will sometimes spot the storm before you do. Maybe it's a toxic friend, a bad deal, or a self-destructive habit you don't even notice. And they'll gently call it out, not to shame you, but to guide you. They'll say, hey, I don't think that's good for you. I know you might not see it now, but I got your back no matter what. That's protection rooted in love, not control. I never forget what my mom used to say. When someone loves you, they'll pray for you in rooms you'll never enter. That stuck with me. Because love don't always show up with flowers and date nights. Sometimes it shows up in quiet prayers and silent concern, in watching over you without needing credit. That's love with depth. That's protection with purpose. So if you ever feel truly safe with someone, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you better believe they love you deep. Because in this world, protection is one of the rarest forms of affection. It don't come easy. It don't come fake. It only comes when someone's heart is fully in it. And if you're blessed enough to have someone who protects you like that, cherish them. Because you ain't just loved, you're held. Let me tell you something that most people miss when they're out here looking for love. Real love, deep grown folks' love, ain't always loud. It doesn't always come with grand gestures, expensive gifts, or flashy posts on social media. Sometimes the biggest sign that someone truly loves you is something so simple, so quiet, you might miss it if you're not paying attention. And that's when they listen to you. I mean, really listen. I'm not talking about nodding their head while you're talking or waiting for you to finish so they can say what they want to say. I'm talking about that kind of listening where they stop what they're doing, they look you in the eye, and it's like the rest of the world fades out. That kind of listening where they're not just hearing your words, they're hearing your heart. See, when somebody truly loves you, your words matter to them. They don't just remember the big things you say, like your dreams and your plans. They remember the little stuff too. The name of your childhood pet, that one song that makes you cry, the fact that you don't like pickles on your burger. They hold on to the details not because they have to, but because they want to. Because every piece of you is important to them. That's real love. Think about how rare that is in today's world. People got 1,000 distractions, phones buzzing, minds racing, always somewhere to be. But when someone puts all that aside to give you their full attention, that's a sign they see you as valuable. They see what you're saying is worth their time, their energy, their focus. That's a kind of intimacy that don't fade easy. Now let me tell you something. When somebody deeply loves you, they'll pick up on stuff you didn't even say out loud. You might say, I'm fine, but your voice is just a little too flat, your smile a little too forced, and they catch it. They say, nah, you ain't fine. What's really going on? That's because they've studied you. They know your tone, your body language, your patterns, and they care enough to call it out. Not to be nosy, but because your well-being is tied to their heart. That kind of attention, you don't fake that. It's also about how they respond when you do open up. Because let's be real, not everyone deserves to hear your truth. Some people take your vulnerabilities and use them against you. But when you've got someone who listens with kindness, patience, and without judgment, that's when you know you're dealing with something deep. They don't try to fix you every time you vent. They don't dismiss your feelings or say you're overthinking. They just hold space for you. And in that silence, in that presence, there's healing. There's love. I knew this couple once, married for decades. The wife said the most romantic thing her husband ever did wasn't buying her flowers or taking her on trips. It was when he sat with her after her mother died. Didn't say a word. Just sat beside her, held her hand, and let her cry. She said, in that moment, I felt more love than I ever had in my life. Why? Because he listened without needing to speak. That's love on another level. Another thing people don't realize, when someone listens to you deeply, they grow with you. They take what you say and they actually change because of it. You tell them something hurt your feelings, they adjust. You say something makes you happy, they try to do it more. That's love in action, because listening ain't just about your ears, it's about your behavior. It's about saying, I heard you and I care enough to do something about it. And it's not always about serious stuff either. Sometimes love shows up in the fun, silly conversations too. You mention a random craving one day, and next thing you know, they show up with it the next week. You say you've always wanted to visit a certain place, they start planning a trip. Those little things, that's what builds a bond. That's what makes you feel seen, heard, and valued. That's what love looks like when it's real. But let me drop something real on you. It also takes maturity to listen like that, to put your ego aside, to not make everything about yourself. See, when someone listens to you deeply, they're saying your voice matters just as much as mine. Your experience is just as important. And when both people in a relationship give each other that kind of attention, man, that's when magic happens. That's when trust builds. That's when love grows roots that last. I've seen people cry not because someone said something nice, but because someone finally listened, really listened. And that's because we live in a world where so many people are starving to be understood, to be heard, to have someone say, I see you and I'm not going anywhere. That's powerful, that's rare, and that's love. So if there's someone in your life who makes time to hear your stories, who remembers your words, who asks how you really feel and listens without judgment, don't take that for granted. That ain't just kindness, that ain't just good manners. That's love, deep love. The kind that don't come around every day. The kind that listens not with the intent to reply, but with the intent to understand. And if you're blessed enough to be that person for someone else, don't stop. Keep listening. Keep showing up. Because sometimes how listening ain't always the loudest way. It's not always candlelight dinners, Instagram posts, or walking hand in hand on some beach. Sometimes love is somebody waking up early to drive you to work because your car broke down. Sometimes love is skipping the game or that night out with the boys to stay home because you had a rough day. Sometimes love is giving up something that matters to them just to make sure you're okay. And when somebody truly deeply loves you, they do that kind of stuff without keeping a scorecard. They don't say, well, I did this for you, now you owe me. Nah. They don't throw it in your face every time there's a disagreement. They just do it. And they do it from the heart. That's sacrifice. That's one of the most powerful, underrated signs that someone is loving you with everything they got. And it don't always look big on the surface. Sometimes the sacrifices are small, everyday choices, but they stack up and they speak volumes. Like maybe they work all day, dead tired, but they still find the strength to call you, check on you, bring you food, or just sit with you and listen. Maybe they've been saving for something they want, but when you're in a tight spot, they don't even blink. They hand it over to help. Or maybe they got dreams and plans of their own, but they put those on hold just to support yours. That's love, real love, quiet love, solid love. See, when somebody truly loves you, your needs become their priority. Not in a way that they lose themselves, but in a way where they say, we're a team. If you're down, I'm down. If you're hurting, I'm hurting. And I'll do what I got to do to lift us both back up. And here's the thing, those sacrifices aren't always convenient. In fact, they usually ain't. Love will test you. It will call on you at the worst times. But when somebody keeps showing up for you, when they rearrange their life, their schedule, even their own comfort, just to make sure you're good, that's a love that's running deep. That's not surface level. That's not temporary. That's the kind of love that sticks around when life gets messy. Now, I ain't talking about someone who sacrifices so much they lose their peace or their identity. That's not love. That's codependency. But I am talking about those moments when someone gives up something they could have had for themselves, whether it's time, money, energy, even pride, because being there for you meant more. Let me tell you something. One of the biggest sacrifices people make in love is emotional. When someone deeply loves you, they'll learn how to communicate even if they were never taught. They'll sit in uncomfortable conversations. They'll swallow pride. They'll admit when they're wrong, even when it's hard. You think it's easy for someone to say, I'm sorry I hurt you? That ain't easy. But they'll do it if they love you, because your peace means more than their ego. Another thing, they'll show up when it inconveniences them. Real love ain't just about showing up when everything's smooth. It's about being there in the trenches, in the chaos, in the breakdowns. It's canceling their plans when you need them. Staying up all night when you're sick or anxious. It's sitting in hospital rooms, courtroom benches, funeral homes. Those moments, that's when love shows itself the most. And the beauty of real love is this. The person doing the sacrificing doesn't see it as a burden. They don't count the cost. They don't keep receipts. Why? Because it brings them joy to see you okay. Because your happiness, your safety, your comfort is tied to theirs. That's when you know it's real. Now let me flip the coin for a second. When somebody is making sacrifices for you, you can't take that for granted. You can't let that kind of love go unnoticed. Because here's what happens. When someone keeps giving and giving without recognition or appreciation, they start to feel invisible. And eventually, even the strongest love starts to wear down if it's one-sided. So if you got somebody in your life that sacrifices for you without asking anything in return, love them back. Show up for them. Don't wait till you lose them to realize what you had. Don't assume that just because they don't complain, they ain't tired. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones hurting in silence. Love is a two-way street. Sacrifice should go both ways. Maybe it's not always equal at the same time, but over the long haul, it should balance out. And when both people are willing to give, to bend, to stretch for each other, that's how you build something that lasts. Think about it. Every strong couple you know didn't get there because everything was easy. They got there because they made sacrifices. They pushed through when it was hard. They gave when they didn't have much to give. And they never kept score. That's love. So if you're wondering whether someone really loves you, don't just look at what they say. Look at what they're willing to give up for you without ever throwing it back in your face. That's where the truth lives. Not in the words, not in the flowers, not even in the promises. It's in the sacrifices, the choices, the consistent actions. Love that shows up even when it's inconvenient. Love that gives without demanding something back. Love that stays, sacrifices, and supports even when no one else does. That's love worth holding on to. And if you got it, count yourself blessed. Not everybody does.